Hello, vibrant ones, and welcome to Vibrant Health and Wellness Coaching. I am your Vibrant Health and Wellness Coach, Linda Howard, and I am tapping in with you on this beautiful day. Listen, I'm here today because I am going to share information with you about sea moss. Doesn't it seem like sea moss is so popular? It is, but you know, sea moss has been around for centuries, since the beginning of the world, I believe. And people have been using it for centuries as well. Personally, I implemented sea moss into my own lifestyle about 3 years ago, and I've seen lots of benefits. That's why I'm excited to come here and share this information with you today. So today I will go over the history of sea moss. I will provide you with information as to how to locate quality sea moss, and I'll show you how I prepare sea moss. And last but not least, I will give you the benefits of sea moss. So you have all of this information and you can make an educated decision as to whether you want to implement sea moss into your own lives, okay? Or, you know, you could be here because you're going to share this information with family and friends. Whatever the decision you make, it's all good. So let's go learn about sea moss together. Come on, let's go. So we'll begin with what? What is sea moss? Well, sea moss is a type of red algae native to the Atlantic coast of Europe, North America, and the Caribbean islands. There are from 30,000 to 1 million algae. But for macroalgae, there are at least some 13,000 species. Humans only use about 13 species commercially, although there are dozen species in the Philippines and there are species not yet identified. Can you believe it? You see that brown stuff growing on the rocks? Well, that is a red algae, scientific name Chondrus Crispus, also known as Irish sea moss or Irish moss. In my research, I discovered that Irish sea moss was most frequently used by the Irish in the 19th century, especially during the Irish potato famine of 1846 through 1848. After the famine, the sea moss was regarded as poverty food and waned in popularity. Now, sea moss was not something that you would find in the typical American diet until now. And due to the increased popularity, some regions like Ireland or even some governments in the Caribbean and other places, now a license is required from the Department of Agriculture, Food, or Marine for the collection or the removal of sea moss for anything other than small amounts for personal use. So this in turn has resulted in sea moss producers or farmers taking sea moss from the ocean and growing it on farms in salt brine pools and in sea moss sea farms. Yep, you heard me, sea moss sea farms. It's been noted that sea moss produced in salt brine pools grows quickly, developing to around 3 times the size of wild-crafted sea moss because it contains more mucilage. Mucilage is the gelatinous interior of the sea moss. However, many believe that the nutrient makeup of the salt brine pool sea moss is deficient in minerals as it compares to the wild-crafted sea moss and the sea moss grown in sea farms. Research has shown that the increased cultivation and harvesting of sea moss in parts of the world have helped to improve the health of the oceans. As I mentioned earlier, sea moss producers or farmers also grow sea moss in sea farms to make harvesting easier and sometimes to stay in compliance with their government's regulations as it pertains to preserving the ocean's ecosystem and marine life. So sea moss grown by this method is grown in the ocean. However, it doesn't grow in exactly the same way as wild-crafted sea moss does, because instead of growing on top of rocks or reefs where it draws some of its nutrients and minerals, it's grown from rope lines that are anchored in the ocean. When it comes to sea moss sea farms, In my research, I discovered photos and videos showing farmers using plastic bottles as flotation devices and car tires as anchors for their line poles. And now, wildcrafted sea moss. Wildcrafting sea moss means harvesting directly from its natural habitat. Therefore, it bypasses human intervention. Wildcrafted sea moss develops in a specific way through its interaction with all the properties of the ocean in which it grows naturally. The environment includes nutrients the sea moss absorbs from the rock it's grown on, the air, sunshine, the amount of salt in the ocean, other nutrients in the water, the movement of the water, and other natural factors. When it comes to harvesting wildcrafted sea moss, it's harvested in an eco-friendly way. Ideally, harvesters only take parts of the sea moss plant so that the plant can regrow and support its ecosystem. It's time to clear some things up. Let's make this clear. So what I've discovered in my own research is that the names Irish moss or Irish sea moss have been used interchangeably in some Caribbean islands, Asia, and other places, when in fact, the name Irish sea moss is applicable to the sea moss species which is indigenous to Ireland, sea moss that's grown in colder water versus the sea moss species that is grown in the Caribbean and other places in warmer water. What I'll do is provide you with pictures so that you can see the difference. Introducing to some, reintroducing to others. What you see in this picture is the Irish sea moss, i.e., or also known as Chondrus Crispus. This is the species that is grown in Ireland. And as you can see, it has a fan-like shaped top or thallus consisting of wide, flat leaves or fingers, and can vary in color from greenish yellow to red to dark purple to purplish brown. It grows best on stable rock ledges and larger boulders. It really prefers horizontal shelves, growing not so well on smaller rocks or sediment-covered rocks. The strongest growth is in late spring and summer. The least growth is in the winter. Now what you see here are some of the other sea moss species that are grown in the Caribbean islands, Asia, and other parts of the world, with names such as Eucheuma Cottonii, I'm pronouncing this as best as I can, Gracilaria, and Capophycus alvarezi, so forth and so on. Now these tend to have a tubular looking thallus or fingers. They also come in several colors like green, brown, red, purple, gold, so forth and so on. And sometimes a combination of them as well. When these species of seaweed or sea moss are fresh, they tend to have a firm and crisp outer texture, with the inside being softer and more jelly-like. Some of them may even seem a bit rubbery. These are the species of sea moss more commonly found for sale online because they're more affordable and easier to acquire. When on the other hand, the Irish sea moss, Chondrus Crispus, in comparison, can seem very expensive when you look at it on a price per pound basis. So when evaluating your health, it's up to you to ask, what price do you put on your health and the quality of the food that you choose to eat? Finally, we are at preparation, and then I'll share the benefits of sea moss. Now, I purchased my sea moss from a store in Brooklyn, New York. His supplier is in St. George's, Grenada. My first preference is sea moss that is responsibly wildcrafted. Second would be sea moss from a sea farm. And because of high demands these days, I had to take what was available. You see all that salt? This probably came from a salt brine pool. The night before I make my sea moss gel, I rinse my sea moss really well with spring or distilled water, and then I soak it 24 hours. The next day, I rinse it again at least 3 times. Now, what happens when you soak the sea moss is that it expands. So I probably have about 2 cups now, and I just added about a cup of water, which was too much for this particular batch, but it's all good. It will firm up when I refrigerate it. So I blend it for about a minute or so, or maybe 2 minutes, until it reaches the gel-like consistency, as you can see here. And when I scrape it or pick it up, you can see it's very thin, but as I stated, it will firm up even more, or I could soak some more overnight and add it to this batch. But it did firm up pretty well, and I was able to still use it for my smoothies and other drinks, and even for my facial mask, which is another way that you can use sea moss. And now the benefits of sea moss. Did you know that the body is made up of 102 minerals? With the yet to be 100% confirmed 92 minerals, sea moss is one of the most complex and nutritious foods available. Needless to say that sea moss is a good source of vitamins and organified minerals. Organified basically means that they occur naturally in a plant-based form that is easily able to be processed or assimilated into the body. These minerals have been known to help with joints and bone strength, hair and skin, muscles, and organs. Sea moss is an all-around winner in the superfood category. As I mentioned earlier in this video, Irish sea moss has been used for centuries to strengthen those malnourished, fatigued, and unwell. It's been used also to reduce inflammation. It's been used as a respiratory tonic to soothe the digestive tract and skin and strengthen connective tissue and joints. Sea moss contains a time-release carbohydrate that provides a feeling of fullness. You just witnessed me preparing my sea moss gel, but know this, that people in different parts of the world prepare sea moss in different ways. Like in Vietnam, they rehydrate sea moss and they mix it into a range of foods as a vegetable. More commonly, sea moss makes an appearance in salads, cakes, jellies, and desserts. In Jamaica, they are well known for making a sea moss drink. I've heard that Jamaicans prefer to go about rehydrating their sea moss by boiling it until it becomes soft and it takes on an almost gelatinous consistency. And then they add coconut milk, a few spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, and then sweeten it to taste. I can't wait to make it myself or drink it in Jamaica. I pray that this video was empowering and informative. So in the meantime, shop responsibly and enjoy sea moss for all that it is.